All right, so today let's read, inshallah, from Akhbar al-Adhkiya by Ibn al-Jawzi. This book also, I did not take it by hearing. So we'll just benefit from some things that are here, inshallah ta'ala. Again, as a study of Arabic and also benefiting from some things. So the author says, في ذكر ماهية العقل ومحله. This is the chapter, his first chapter here, is about the essence or the substance of the mind, the intellect. What is it? What's this book? Akhbar al-Adhkiya, the stories of the smart people or the clever people or the quick people or something like that. So he starts by talking about what is the intellect and where is it? Wa mahalli, and the place of it or its location. And Allah knows best about the names that he produces, the chains of narration that he produces. So I cannot verify any of that or authenticate any of it. So the author says here, نقل إبراهيم الحربي. Ibrahim al-Harbi, that's a big scholar. It's a companion of Ahmed. He was a mujtahid. He logged or documented an Ahmad ibn Hanbal, from or about Ahmad ibn Hanbal, أنه قال, that he said, that Ahmad said, العقل غريزة غريزة العقل غريزة. That Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal said the intellect is something embedded, something embedded. ومثله عن الحارث المحاسبي, and similar to that was reported about Al-Harith al-Muhasibi. He's going to explain what does he mean by غريزة. وروي عن المحاسبي, and it was reported from or about Al-Muhasibi also, أنه قال, that he said, هو نور, the intellect is a light. We did learn that some scholars said that the mind is a nur, a light. They said the brighter that light, the better you can see. The dimmer that light, the weaker will be your vision until that light goes out, and then you will not see anything. So according to a saying, the intellect is actually a body. Saying it's ghariza, it's embedded, that means it's an attribute. وَقَالَ آخَرُونَ, and others said, said others, هُوَ قُوَّةٌ يُفْصَلُ بِهَا بَيْنَ حَقَائِقِ الْمَعْلُومَاتِ. It is a power. By it is distinguished, or by it there is distinction between the realities of known things, as if that means details. A power by which one distinguishes details. And Allah knows best. وَقَالَ قَوْمٌ, and some people said, هُوَ نَوْعٌ مِنَ الْعُلُومِ الضَّرُورِيَّةِ. It is some type of, the intellect is some type of necessary informations. That's close to the first saying, that it's ghariza, it's embedded. It is some huwa nawar, a type, min of al-ulum al-daruriyah, necessary informations, or necessary knowledges, or necessary realizations. It's like he's saying it's built in. وَهُوَ الْعِلْمُ بِجَوَازِ الْجَائِزَاتِ. And that's the knowledge of the permissibility or the possibility of possibilities. That's the knowledge of the possibility of possibilities. وَاسْتِحَالَةِ الْمُسْتَحِيلَاتِ. And the impossibility of impossibilities. Yani, I think that's clear. It's the knowledge by which one knows that something is possible or impossible. But here, they're defining the intellect as knowledge. This apparent statement is that the aql is some knowledge, as if they're saying it's some programming that's installed in you. He says, وَقَالَ آخَرُونَ, and others said, هُوَ جَوْهَرٌ بَسِيطٌ. It is a subtle body. وَقَالَ آخَرُونَ, and said others, هُوَ جِسْمٌ شَفَّافٌ. It is a transparent body. وَسُئِلَ أَعْرَابِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَقْلِ. A Bedouin was asked about the intellect. فَقَالَ, he said, لُبٌّ اغْتَنَمْتُهُ بِتَجْرِيبٍ. He said, it is lub. Lub means quintessence, as far as translations that I've checked. Lub, they mean intellect, though. Intellect. It's like, yani. So the word aql, intellect. But intellect in Arabic has many names. Aql and nuha and lub is one of them. So it's like the answer is, he says, وَسُئِلَ أَعْرَابِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَقْلِ. A Bedouin was asked about the intellect. فَقَالَ, and so he said, لُبٌّ, an intellect. اغْتَنَمْتُهُ بِتَجْرِيبٍ, that I have acquired by experience. So quintessence, a quintessence that I have acquired by experience. That's interesting. For me, sounds more like wisdom, though. But those go hand in hand. Quintessence, let's look it up. It says quintessence, the most perfect or typical example of any quality or class. An essence, an essence, soul, spirit, ethos, nature, core, heart, center. This is what he means. A nucleus, something like that. An essence, a nature, something to that effect. A heart, a nucleus. He says, وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ التَّحْقِيقَ فِي هَذَا أَنْ يُقَالْ. Know that what's accurate in this is that it be said, هذا الاسم, this name, أعني العقل, I mean, عقل ينطبق بالاشتراك على أربعة معان. It is shared between four meanings. The word is shared between four meanings. Understood what he said there? He didn't say the word has four meanings. He said the word is shared between four meanings. That means something else. Ahaduja, one of them is al-wasfu alladhi yufariqu bihi al-insanu al-baha'im, the attribute by which the human is distinguished from the animal. وهو الذي استعد لقبول العلوم النظرية. وهو, and so I want to see where this pronoun goes back to. وهو, closest thing it goes back to is insan, human. Possibly goes far back to the word aql, because that's the subject, what we're talking about. So, ahaduha, one of those meanings is the description by which the human departs or is distinguished from the animals. وهو, and he, the human, الذي استعد لقبول العلوم النظرية. He is the one who is equipped for accepting pondered knowledge, ideas. I'm refraining from the word theory, but possibly the word theory can work in a way that doesn't, if it means something that doesn't go against the religion. He is the one who is equipped. Let's say this way, he's the one who's equipped for theorizing, for thinking and pondering. So I think the pronoun goes back to the human. Or else, if it goes back to the aql, then I'm not sure what's going on with that sentence. وَتَدْبِيرِ الصِّنَاعَاتِ الْخَفِيَّةِ الْفِكْرِيَّةِ. And he's the one who's equipped to manage, as if he's saying here, very subtle ideas. خفية. صناعات الخفية الفكرية. صناعات like makings. And خفية means light. Light, or even hidden, not apparent. Al-fikriya, which means pertaining to ideas. It's like he's saying the human being, not the animal, the one who is equipped for detailed analysis. وهو الذي أراده من قال غزيرة. And وهو, and that is what those who said that the intellect is embedded. This is what they meant. Those who said that the intellect is ghariza, is embedded. This is what they meant. وَكَأَنَّهُ نُورٌ يُقْذَفُ فِي الْقَلْبِ. As if it is a light thrown into the heart. يَسْتَعِدُّ بِهِ لِإِدْرَاكِ الْأَشْيَاءِ. By it, one becomes equipped for realizing things. But maybe he means realizing them in detail. Not like the animals, because they do realize the animals. And they have some knowledge, the animals. Let's skip a little bit here. وَالنَّاسُ يَتَفَاوَتُونَ فِي هَذِهِ الْأَحْوَالِ. He says, the people vary in these cases. These details here. Yani, at what level can the people think and conceptualize and process information, etc.? They vary in these إلا في القسم الثاني, except in the second division, yani something he mentioned we skipped. الذي هو العلم الضروري, which is the necessary knowledge. This is what the people share. What's common between the people? The necessary knowledge. What's the necessary knowledge? That's the knowledge you get from your sound senses. Not assumptions, though. Like if you sat down on a warm chair, what do you know? Do you know someone was sitting there before you? No. You might assume that that's not knowledge. What do you know? You know that the seat is warm. That's what you know. Why it's warm, that's another matter. So what do the people share? They share a necessary knowledge. The necessary knowledge is the knowledge you get from sound senses and from mutawatir report, which we won't talk about for now, and from intuition, like knowing that some of something is less than all of it. That's necessary knowledge. All the people share in that. Beyond the necessary knowledge, the people vary. He says, فصل أما اشتقاق هذا الاسم, section, as for the derivation of this name, أعني العقل, meaning عقل. فقال ثعلب أصله الامتناع. Tha'lab said the original meaning of عقل is inhibition. Inhibition. Inhibition, what stops you. It's what stops you. So that's why the intellect was called in Arabic aql, because it stops you. Faslun wa amma mahalluhu, section, as for its location. فنقل الفضل بن زياد عن أحمد أن محله الدماغ. He says, Al-Fadl ibn Ziyad documented about Ahmed that its place is the brain. We did learn by Talaqi that it's reported from Ahmed that the mind, according to him, is in the head. Here he says more specifically, the brain. وَهُوَ قَوْلُ Abi Hanifa, he says, and that's the saying of Abu Hanifa, but what we learned is, not explicitly Abu Hanifa said that, they inferred that. Those who said that this is Abu Hanifa's position, that the mind is in the head, they inferred that from what he said. When he said, if someone gets hit in the head and loses his mind, then there is blood money. If someone gets hit in the head and loses his mind, then there is blood money. But so that's not explicit from Abu Hanifa, but that's what some people inferred. وذهب جماعة من أصحابنا إلى أنه في القلب. And a group of our colleagues have gone to the position that it's in the heart. That's what we go by, that the place of the mind is the heart. كما يروى عن الشافعي, as was reported about الشافعي. واستدلوا بقوله تعالى, and they proved that by the saying of God Almighty, فتكون لهم قلوب يعقلون بها, so that they would have hearts by which they think. So that they would have hearts by which they think. So that they would have hearts thinking by them. That's the 46th ayah of Surah Al-Hajj. وَقَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى, and his saying, exalted is he, لِمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ قَلْبٌ. That's a reminder for someone who had a heart. Aql, meaning who had a mind. That's what's in the books of tafsir. In the books of tafsir for this ayah. لِمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ قَلْبٌ, for who had a heart, means for who had a mind, a reminder. That's a reminder for who has a mind. فَعَبَّرَ بِالْقَلْبِ عَنْهُ لِأَنَّهُ مَحَلُّهُ. And so, in this ayah, Ibn al-Jawzi says, the mind was referred to by the word qalb, which is the heart, because that's where it is, according to those who said so. He said, في بيان معنى الذهن والفهم والذكاء, in clarifying the meaning of dhihn, mind or intellect, and fahm, understanding, fahm, understanding or comprehension, and dhaka, intelligence or sharpness. I didn't want to try to tackle some of this here. I don't have enough guts. So I skipped some of that. Let's go down here. He says, وَقَالَ بَعْضُهُمْ, some of them said, حَدُّ الذَّكَاء سُرْعَةُ الْفَهْمِ وَحِدَّتُهُ. Some said the definition or limit of the cat, which is the sharpness. Some said it is سُرْعَةُ الْفَهْمِ, the swiftness of comprehension, the swiftness of comprehension, وحدته, and the sharpness of it, the sharpness of comprehension. Yani, like to see the details of the case immediately and to understand the implications immediately or swiftly. All of this, the people vary in that. I ask Allah to make us amongst the swiftest in that. Ameen. Wal baladatu jumuduh, and balada, thickness, dullness, dim-wittedness, is the frozenness of comprehension. Jumuduhu. Now he has another section here. في ذكر العلامات التي يستدل بها على عقل العاقل وذكاء الذكي. About mentioning the signs that indicate the intellect of the intellectual and the cleverness of the clever. A lot of this also might be above my pay grade, so I was not trying to delve too much here. Some of these things might need to be verified with the Sheikh. He says, though, here, he says, قال الحكماء, the wise ones said. Now, I don't know what he means by hukama. Hopefully he means here the wise Muslim scholars, because sometimes they say the hukama and they mean the old Roman, the old Greek philosophers. Not because they really believe that they are wise, but because that's what they call themselves. That's what philosopher is meaning. Philosopher means a lover of wisdom, wisdom lover. So Allah knows what he means by that. We think well of him, and Allah knows best. قال الحكماء, the wise one said, الخلق المعتدل والبنية المتناسبة دليل على قوة العقل وجودة الفطنة. The moderate stature and appropriate structure, that's approximate translation, is indication of strength of intellect and goodness of intelligence, yani quality of intelligence, if you want. وَإِذَا غَلُظَتِ الرَّقَبَةُ دَلَّتْ عَلَى قُوَّةِ الدِّمَاغِ وَوُفُورِهِ. And if the neck is thick, then this indicates the strength of the brain and its plentitude. ومن كانت عينه تتحرك بسرعة وحدة فهو مكار محتال لص. And whoever his eyes move swiftly and sharply, then he is a schemer and a trickster and a thief. And Allah knows best about that. We're not going to think ill of somebody if you see somebody, a Muslim with shifty eyes, you're not going to say he's a thief. Allah knows best. He claims, وَإِذَا كَانَتِ الْعَيْنُ صَغِيرَةً غَائِرَةً, and if the eyes are small and sunken in, فَصَاحِبُهَا مَكَّارٌ حَسُودٌ, then the person who has these small sunken eyes is a schemer and envious one, a hater. And Allah knows best about that. If you see a Muslim with small sunken eyes, don't say he's a hater. وَمَنْ كَانَ نَحِيفَ الْوَجْهِ فَهُوَ فَهِمٌ مُهْتَمٌ بِالْأُمُورِ. He says, and Allah knows best, and whoever has a thin face, he has good comprehension, and he takes care of matters. Allahu A'lam. I'm just reading that for fun. let that be read on the Sheikh and be verified. وَاللُّطْفُ فِي النِّحَافِ الْقِصَارِ أَظْهَرُ. And niceness or gentleness in thin, small people is more apparent. Or maybe I didn't translate that right, but I think I did. وَالْمُعْتَدِلُونَ فِي الطُّولِ صَالِحُ الْحَالِ. And those who have moderate length, not excessive, average, then they have good situation. Allahu alam about all of that. Maybe someone needs to be a doctor to unravel that. Maybe some of it is heresy, not heresy, but hearsay. Allahu alam. You don't have to believe that. What's there? So here he has something. I'm just going to skip his chain of narration here. So someone named Ajlan said, قال لي زياد. Ziyad said to me, أدخل علي رجلا عاقلا. Bring to me an intelligent man. قلت لا أعرف من تعني. I said, I don't know who you mean. قال لا يخفى العاقل في وجهه وقده. He said, the intelligent one is obvious in his face and in his stature. فخرجت. So I went out, Ajlan says. فإذا أنا برجل حسن الوجه مديد القامة فصيح اللسان. And behold, I found myself before a man with a nice face and a good stature and an eloquent tongue. فقلت ادخل. So I told him, come in. فدخل. And so he came in. فقال زياد. So Ziyad said, يا هذا. Hey you. إني قد أردت مشاورتك في أمر. I want to take your advice in something. I want your consultation about something. فما عندك. So what do you have? قال إني حاق. He said, indeed, I am holding back the urge to relieve myself. ولا رأي لحاق. And the one who holds back the urge to relieve himself does not have a sound opinion. قال يا عجلان. So Ziyad said, عجلان أدخله المتوضأ. Take him to the wudu place. Yani, take him to the bathroom. فلما خرج قال. So then when the man came out, he said, إني جائع. Indeed, I am hungry. ولا رأي لجائع. And the one who's hungry does not have a sound opinion. قال يا عجلان. So Ziyad said, عجلان إيته بالطعام. Bring him some food. فأتي به فطعم. So it was brought to him and he was fed. ثم قال. And then he said, سل عما بدا لك. Ask whatever you want. فما سأله عن شيء إلا وجد عنده بعض ما يريد. And he didn't ask that man about anything except that he found with that man some of what he wanted. The author goes on to say, يستدل على عقل العاقل. What indicates the intellect of the intellectual? بسكوته, his silence. وسكونه, and his stillness. وخفض بصره, and his lowering his gaze. وحركاته في أماكنها اللائقة بها, and his moving at the appropriate places or the appropriate moments. ومراقبته للعواقب, and his observance of the outcomes of things, meaning his estimation of outcomes, his thinking ahead. فلا تستفزه شهوة عاجلة عقباها ضرر. And so he is not moved or fazed by some fleeting desire, like the idea to do something, for example, but its outcome is harmful. So when he sees its outcome harmful, being an intelligent one, then he refrains from it from the beginning. وَتَرَاهُ يَنْظُرُ فِي الْفَضَاءِ, and you would see him looking into the sky. فَيَتَخَيَّرُ الْأَعْلَى وَالْأَحْمَدَ عَاقِبَةً, and he chooses what's highest and most praiseworthy of outcomes. مِنْ مَطْعَمٍ وَمَشْرَبٍ وَمَلْبَسٍ وَقَوْلٍ وَفِعْلٍ, whether food or drink or clothing or saying or action. وَيَتْرُكُ مَا يَخَافُ ضَرَرَهُ, and he leaves out whatever he fears harmful. وَيَسْتَعِدُّ لِمَا يَجُوزُ وُقُوعُهُ, and he prepares for whatever could possibly happen. He prepares for whatever could possibly happen. Here also the author has a report attributed to Abu Darda, the companion. He was a mujtahid. Some of the words here I'm not sure about, but let's look at some of it. He says, أَلَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِعَلَامَةِ الْعَاقِلِ, and Allah knows best about the authenticity of this. Should I inform you about the sign of the intellectual? يَتَوَاضَعُ لِمَنْ فَوْقَهُ, he is humble to his superior, to his superiors. وَلَا يَزْدَرِي مَنْ دُونَهُ, and he does not belittle who is lower than him. يُمْسِكُ الْفَضْلَ مِنْ مَنْطِقِهِ, he holds back his extra talk. Very nice. يُخَالِقُ النَّاسَ بِأَخْلَاقِهِمْ, and he mingles with the people as they are. Like, that saying, when in Rome, do like the Romans, or whatever, something like that. When he's amongst people, he deals with them as they are. That's smart. If you don't, then you're going to find trouble. Doesn't mean you act like them, you behave bad like them. It means you get to know them. You get to know the people. Learn how they talk, learn how they move, and then you deal with them as they are. وَيَحْتَجِزُ الْإِيمَانَ فِي مَا بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ رَبِّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. This part, I'm not positive if I understand it properly. He's saying, and Allah knows best, and he reserves faith for what's between him and his Lord. فَهُوَ يَمْشِي فِي الدُّنْيَا بِالتَّقِيَّةِ وَالْكِتْمَانِ, and so he walks through the world with God-fearingness and silence. And Allah knows best about that translation there. Okay, moving along here. It was said also, skipping some names, it was said, Youre Jibuni أن أرى عقل الكريم زائدا على لسانه ولا يعجبني أن أرى لسانه زائدا على عقله. It's a very strong statement, though. He says, it impresses me to see the intellect of the generous one more prevalent than his tongue, and it does not impress me to see his tongue more prevalent than his intellect. He mentions three things there, though. What did he mention? His intellect, his tongue, and what else? That he's Kareem, he's generous. It impresses me to see the intellect of the generous one more than his tongue, and it does not impress me to see his tongue more than his intellect. Unless he means by Kareem something else, so Allah knows best. Here is a little a quickie, if you want, about how one person dealt with someone who had waswas. So the author says, وَبَلَغَنِي أَنَّ رَجُلًا جَاءَ إِلَى أَبِي حَازِمٍ. It reached me that a man went to Abu Hazim. فَقَالَ لَهُ, he said to him, إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَأْتِينِي indeed the devil comes to me. فيقول, and he says, إنك قد طلقت زوجتك فيشككني. And he says to me, you have divorced your wife. And he makes me doubt. فقال له, so he said to him, أوليس قد طلقتها? Didn't you divorce her? قال لا. He said, no. قال ألم تأتني أمسي فطلقتها عندي? He said, you didn't come to me yesterday and divorce her in front of me? قال فقال والله ما جئتك إلا اليوم. I swear by Allah, today. ولا طلقتها بوجه من الوجوه. And I never divorced her in any way. قال فاحلف للشيطان إذا جاءك كما حلفت لي. He said, then swear to the devil when he comes to you, just like you swore to me. وأنت في عافية, and you will be in protection, inshallah, or you will be in safety, inshallah. One more, and then we'll stop, inshallah ta'ala. He says, قال المحسن. Al-Muhsin said, وقد روي قديما مثل هذا, and it's old that it was reported, the likes of this, something that was already mentioned before. أن بلال بن أبي بردة بن أبي موسى الأشعري كان في حبس الحجاج. That a man named Bilal, let's just call him Bilal, he was in the prison of Al-Hajjaj. وَكَانَ يُعَذِّبُهُ, and Al-Hajjaj used to torture him. Here, this chapter, by the way, is the chapter of people who made a plan, but it backfired. So, the author says, it was reported, it's old report, that a man named Bilal, he was in the prison of Al-Hajjaj. وَكَانَ يُعَذِّبُهُ. Al-Hajjaj used to torture him. وَكَانَ كُلُّ مَنْ مَاتَ مِنَ الْحَبْسِ رُفِعَ خَبَرُهُ إِلَى الْحَجَّاجِ. And it was the case that everyone who died in the prison, that was reported to Al-Hajjaj. فَيَأْمُرُ بِإِخْرَاجِهِ وَتَسْلِيمِهِ إِلَى أَهْلِهِ. And then Al-Hajjaj would command for that one to be put out and given to his family. فَقَالَ بِلَالٌ لِلسَّجَّانِ. So Bilal said to the CO, said to or maybe it's the warden, maybe that's the warden. The CO is going to be a haris, a guard. A Sajjan, so probably is the warden. So Bilal said to the warden, or Allah knows best, what is he? خُذْ مِنِّي عَشَرَةَ آلَافِ دِرْهَمْ. Take from me 10,000 dirhams. وَأَخْرِجْ اسْمِي إِلَى الْحَجَّاجِ فِي الْمَوْتَى. And produce my name, report my name to Al-Hajjaj that I am among the dead. فَإِذَا أَمَرَكَ بِتَسْلِيمِي إِلَى أَهْلِي. And then when he commands you to let me go to my family, هَرَبْتُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. I will run away into the earth, into the land. فَلَمْ يَعْرِفِ الْحَجَّاجُ خَبَرِي. And then Al-Hajjaj doesn't even have to know anything about me. وَإِنْ شِئْتَ أَنْ تَهْرُبَ مَعِي فَافْعَلْ. And if you want to run away with me, come on. وَعَلَيَّ غِنَاكَ أَبَدًا. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. فَأَخَذَ السَّجَّانُ الْمَالَ. So the warden, or the Sajjan, the prison guy, he took the money. وَرَفَعَ اسْمَهُ فِي الْمَوْتَى. And he reported Bilal's name to be amongst the dead. فَقَالَ الْحَجَّاجِ. And then Al-Hajjaj said, مثل هذا لا يجوز أن يخرج إلى أهله حتى أراه. One like this one, he cannot be delivered to his family until I see him. Hati, bring him to me. فعاد إلى بلال. So the prison man went back to Bilal. فقال اعهد, make your will. He said to him, make your will. قال وما الخبر? Bilal said, what's the news? What happened? قال إن الحجاج قال كيت وكيت. He said, indeed, Al-Hajjaj said such and such. فإن لم أحضرك إليه ميتا قتلني. If I do not produce you, if I do not bring you to him dead, he will kill me. وعلم أني أردت الحيلة عليه, and he will know that I attempted to trick him. ولا بد أن أقتلك خنقا. And so there it is, there is no escape from me strangling you. There is no escape from me killing you by strangulation. فبكى بلال, and so Bilal cried. وسأله ألا يفعل, and he asked him, he begged him, let's say, not to do it. فلم يكن إلى ذلك طريق, and he did not find a way to convince him. فأوصى وصلى, so he made a will and he prayed. فأخذه السجان وخنقه, and so the prison man took him and strangled him. وأخرجه إلى الحجاج, and then he took him to Al-Hajjaj. فلما رآه ميتا قال, so then when he saw him dead, he said, سلمه إلى أهله, when he saw him dead, he said, give him to his family. فأخذوه, and then they took him. وقد اشترى القتل لنفسه بعشرة آلاف درهم. That man purchased his death for 10,000 dirhams. ورجعت الحيلة عليه, and the plan backfired. Wallahu a'lam, Allah knows best.